Welcome to the spot. It's time to ignite. Oh yeah. Operation Hangout. The feeling's just right. Chilling with the crew. We're ready to groove. Opinions flying high. Come on, let's move. Woo. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout. Let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Pull up a chair. Let's get in the zone. Voices blend and smooth like a funky trombone. Oh yeah. Topics from the heart, making us think. With a twist and a shout, raise up your drink. Cheers. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout. Let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Bring it down. Shake it up. Feel the beat. With every word we share, the circle's complete. Woo. Living loud. Think it proud. That's what we do. Oh yeah. Join the club. Come on through. We're waiting for you. Alright. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout. Let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Hang out.
What is going on, everybody? You're back at it with another stream, another live. You know where you're at. Of course, you're at your favorite place on a Saturday night, Sparta SU Network. I am your host, Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka the Greek god of everything. So I can't do this by myself. I actually called a recruiter in. I call from backup. He does fight ghosts. He is a real actual Ghostbuster. And I got to bring him. Let's bring Peter Victim in.
Peter Victim? Venkman.
Hey, I am my own copyright strike.
Not going to get copyright struck on freaking using a guy's name. I'm going to be using all of their names tonight. Venkman, Spangler, Stans, Zedmore, Melnitz. Give me a break. Copyright strike me. See, and you can use it. Look, right here on my name tape. Yep. Make sure you get that. Anyways, yes, let's talk about everything that makes you feel good. I'm talking about busting ghosts. That's right.
All right. Before we get too deep into it, I want one question. I'll get the next guy in here. When did you join the Ghostbusters? How long ago?
1984.
Oh, from the beginning. So there weren't 4 Ghostbusters. There were actually 5. You were the secret one that we didn't know about, right?
Yeah. No, I've been. Yeah, exactly. No, right. I probably officially joined in 2023 when I got my proton pack.
Nice. All right, let's get the next guy in. He's shy. He's little. Some people call him baby Groot. Some people call him a little Groot. I call him sperm Groot now.
Bear Claw.
Oh, he's hiding now.
Bear Claw.
He's camera shy, actually.
Bear Claw. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. He's making a big logical mistake. There's no something at the Groot from Africa. Either you call me a gorilla or a bear. Choose of the two.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the
He's
fuck
not even
up.
on screen
From
15
blazing
seconds.
middle finger.
Blazing middle finger. Yes.
Hey, the more he play it, the more I get a blazing middle finger.
Yep.
Yeah, it's what it is. I'm trying to educate my friend here. African don't have Groot. We have gorillas, or we can
You've
get
reached
bears.
your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
From
And
blazing
here we
middle
go.
finger.
Okay, before we get you carried on with your little puny fingers, let's
Oh, this
get.
finger is big and fat. Any lady can sit on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to apologize for my buddy down there, Black David, because he doesn't know when to shut the fuck up.
He triggered me with the Groot.
So
I'm not a stick. I'm too big for a stick.
I will mute you. So I want to give. I'm gonna get angry off the elf for a minute, the floor for a minute, because this is his show. He is the expert. He is the man. He is the dork of dorks tonight. So I want to bring my buddy in.
Wow.
All right. So everybody knows when someone says, who are you going to call? Of course, on three, say it with me. Go on two.
Ghostbusters.
1, 2, Ghostbusters, of course. And it's been with us since 1984, but wait. Maybe, just maybe, it's been with us since 1975. But Ghostbusters
Mhm.
is synonymous with round jumpsuits, proton packs, not slime, copyrighted, but ectoplasm. And we'll get all into that tonight talking about Ghostbusters. But before we get too further into it, Dave, what's your opening thoughts on the good old Ghostbusters? What's your background? What's your experience?
I'll say I grew up with it because there were two of those. I'm sure we had the discussion about the Ghostbuster and the real Ghostbuster. When I was a kid, I almost got confused with that because the Ghostbuster, they were the gorilla among the crew
Yep.
with a weird talking vehicle. The real Ghostbuster wasn't like that at all. So I was wondering where would this issue coming from because just like you say, it's either from 1984, which I remember watching it during that year. They had an animated version about it before that was animated with the real version, live action. They had the animated version of it. But during that time they had the movie out, the Ghostbuster, which is one slim guy, one big gorilla, I forgot who the other one doofus chubby like dude, I remember, and a talking vehicle that can transform in different mode. Then when you had the real ghost, but then that's when a lot of us in school was like, okay, what's the difference between these two? Like, what's really going on? And I realized the network did a little switcheroo. The real ghost supposed to get more fame as the other ghost, but slowly but steady start to fade away. And we are kids, we know something was off. That's where it got me confused. But when you say 1975, I was like, oh, is this back then?
Yep.
Oh, anything back in 1982? No, 1981. And I'm a nerdy ass person, so I remember details. But now that you mentioned that, I was like, you know what? I think this is the show for that because sometimes you omit a lot of information. Well, I go with the ectoplasma, not slime. I don't know why people call it slime. It's not slime, it's ectoplasma. Every nerdy person who watched the Ghostbusters know that word very, very well. We did not forget that. I remember you get the milk carton, you put a stick to it, and make your own.
Yep.
That that was the thing back in elementary school days. You to dress up as ghosts. Almost a lot of kids did that. Especially the team was located in Manhattan, so to
Yep.
speak, from a fire station. That was the theme for anyone from New York City. If you're in New York City, you have to love the Ghostbusters. The
Ladder
real
number 8.
Ghostbusters.
Ladder
That
number
was
8. Yep.
you have to. If you don't love it, then I don't know what to tell you because it was this theme song. Oh God, that was
We'll, we'll get into
overplayed.
that theme song too.
It would overplay throughout the airway to the point whereby it's like a ringtone.
David, it's still overplayed now these days. Like it isn't.
I know.
If you listen to FX, MX radio, even series, it still comes on all the time. If you were playing a shuffle through Google Music or Spotify or whatever streaming service you use, it still comes up every at least once or twice a week for me.
But I believe that song made way more money than Michael Jackson's song. If I may be wrong, because
I don't think so.
no,
Rob,
no, hear
you
me
think
out with my logic. Hear me out with my logic.
you have
When
logic?
that song became popular with the movie, that song was heavily played. You know when you have play the song on rotation a lot of time, and you have it played, and the movie was making a lot of money during the time. So it has to be the most played song in any radio station during the 80s at that time. And I may be wrong because unless you're a DJ who work in a radio station and you know the price of playing people's songs through the rotation over the period of time, it had to be the most played. If not, either second or the third. Because in Halloween, almost any Halloween party, if you don't hear that song, it's not really an authentic Halloween party. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but in defense of Michael Jackson, you go to a Halloween party and you don't hear Thriller. That's not
True,
a real
true.
Halloween.
That's a second notification right there. But those two songs both coincide on Halloween party. Thriller and the Ghostbusters song. It's kind of like you gotta have both of them. But I was been a number one fan with the Ghostbusters song so much to the point whereby the actual artists were making a lot of show appearance on multiple TV show nights. Like, come on, it was a big deal, and the movie was selling. But that's one of my favorite childhood. I'm not gonna lie. The real Ghostbuster, come on, you can't sleep on that. You just can't.
Oh no.
It's that's one of my childhood I can say I really appreciate enjoying because it was something that was very unique. It was nerdy, and it felt good to be a nerd to have a cartoon that speaks a lot of science terminology that a lot of people have to scratch their head. But then again, we as kids, we were catching on onto it very, very well. It wasn't hard to comprehend, but we can understand the theory very, very well. But after that cartoon, not too many matched that impact the real Gopher had back in the 80s. Not too many. Let you can prove me wrong, but it's very, very iconic to me. And I
What do you got to
digress.
say?
So my memory of Ghostbusters are two. I started watching as any kid the real Ghostbusters, the first cartoon that came out, and that's what I grew up with. Obviously, I watched the first movie and the second movie following that. I remember going over to my mom's friend, like, I want to watch the Ghostbusters. I want to watch the Ghostbusters. I want to watch the Ghostbusters. That's all. I was like, all right, Kate, shut the fuck up. I play it for you. Her friend, got annoyed. I always wanted those backpacks, proton packs.
Proton pack.
Yeah,
Yep.
but they were expensive as a toy. That shit was expensive back in the day. For
Yeah.
my parents was because remember my dad was a cab driver. He didn't make money, like whatever. Anyway, that's not the point. But then I moved to Greece, and I used to talk about it all the time with my friends. And then my friends looked at me as stupid. I didn't know what I was talking about. But what we did watch there was the Ghostbusters, not Ghostbusters, the Busters. It was the cartoon from the 60s, I want to say 70s. Help me out, Rob.
Nope. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but it was a different. I watched that cartoon. I did not know they made a show. I watched that cartoon, and I think I actually liked it as a kid. I haven't watched it in years, but back then it was good. Then everything changed for my neighborhood. They finally showed the Ghostbusters movie for the first time on live TV. I had everybody watching. My best friend runs over my house, freaking go like this. I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like, I was going ape shit. I haven't watched that Ghostbuster movie at the time for 4 years. I was like, crack at it. Come on, Rob, hit me. David, come on, your turn. Hit me. And I went ape shit. Came back to the States. At the time, Ghostbusters was kind of dying off. Till Extreme comes in. Ghostbusters Extreme. We might argue later on. It was a good show, bad show, whatever. Then it kind of died off for years till one horrible movie destroyed everything. We're not going to talk about that, but we are going to talk about the reboots. And not the reboots, the sequels later on and come back. The 3 and 4. But that's my experience with Ghostbusters. And I went to the ride at Disney, at the Ghostbuster ride. I had slime. Yeah, Universal. Was it Universal? I thought it was Disney.
Nope.
I went to the ride back then. And I loved the ride. I loved that ride. It was my favorite ride. But I don't take the show off. This is your show. Go ahead, Rob.
So we'll start from the top. Because there's context. Because both of these franchises, at least in the very beginning, intermingle. So Filmation's Ghostbusters, a live-action comedy children's sitcom, ran on NBC in 1975. It's about a team of bumbling detectives who investigate ghostly occurrences. The series of 15 episodes centered on these bumbling characters. The characters' names were from classic cinema, with one named Spencer, the other named Tracy, alluding to Spencer Tracy. And Kong, while not given to the gorilla, was a homage to King Kong. So there was a guy, or two guys, and a gorilla. All right.
You want me to mention the list of the character for that one for you, if you want me to help?
What's that?
I found the list of the character for that particular franchise for Filmation.
Well, we're talking about the live action. The cartoon, we haven't gotten to the cartoon. Now, when the Columbia Pictures started to go through the naming process of the 1984 film titled Ghostbusters, Filmation made them pay a license fee to them to utilize the name Ghostbusters. And that brings us to 1984. So 1984 was a film directed by, or Ghostbusters was directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. It starred Bill Murray, Aykroyd, Ramis, and Rick Moranis, Sigourney Weaver, Annie Potts, along with Ernie Hudson. All right. We all know the story. A bunch of paranormal investigators that end up saving the day. All right. Originally, Dan Aykroyd conceived Ghostbusters as a project for himself and John Belushi to star in. But after John Belushi passed away, Harold Ramis was brought in to retool the script.
Rob, here, 1 second. Let me get this guy in next, and we can continue. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our president. Mr. President, how are you doing tonight?
All right. I'm just working on my camera. This isn't my primary camera. I'm trying to get my other one to work. So if I go in and out, just give me a few minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Rob,
We'll just blame it on paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Mr. Bennett, before we continue, what are your opening thoughts on Ghostbusters?
Well, it's more so a commentary on the period and the director. You were talking about, I think, Ivan Reitman earlier, and it was like in that time, that late 70s, early 80s, he had like this slew of these comedic hits that really that brought a lot of those guys together. So, I mean, the first time most of the Ghostbusters crew together was in Stripes. That was in 1981. And then you had, he did Twins in 88. So you had a lot of these films that were in that early 80s time that Reitman was a director of, that brought a lot of those guys together. So it was, I think it was just everything kind of clicked at the right time. You had the cast. Bill Murray was as hot as ever. Plus, a lot of those guys had SNL ties, so going back a few years. So it's like bringing those guys back together. Sigourney Weaver might have been the top actress in the world at that point. She had the Aliens in 79 and the Aliens in 84. I think that also came out in 84, I believe. I'm sorry, 86, I think. It was 86. But Aliens was certainly a big film, and she was definitely one of the sort of I don't know if you call like a queen of scream, but certainly, she was as big as she was going to get at that time outside of the Aliens franchise. So yeah, it had a lot of guys coming together, and again, the soundtrack. I mean, Ray Parker Jr., who's probably not known for
Oh, yeah.
anything else. You want to talk about like
Nope.
one-hit wonders? Who I'm not saying the guy wasn't talented, but again, he had like one major hit, and that was that. And so that whole summer, that's all you heard in the clubs at the day or whatever. The Ghostbusters song, certainly was a hit. So that was also that crazy period of the '80s where the music and the soundtrack, became like really like popular music. I mean, it was like just like you had Beverly Hills Cop and that soundtrack that came out, Axel F. You had,
Oh, yeah.
so again, you had the music, the music videos that they were making for these were basically cuts of the movie interspliced with the
Mhm.
singer, kind of performing or whatever. But that was just the period where it was like that intersection of the movie, of the music, the soundtrack, and MTV, and you just had all. It was just like the perfect time for a lot of that to come together. And I think Ghostbusters, kind of hit it on all those levels. A good movie, great soundtrack, and and then of course you got the merchandise and everything that kind of came off of that. But it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
it was just throughout the summer. It was just Ghostbusters mania in
Yep.
'84, and arguably probably the most popular movie. I'd have to look at the list of 1984 films, but it's got to be up there as far as with not only
It
blockbusters, but
was. I want to say it was number 4.
I'm looking it up right now, Rob. So give me a second, right?
Whew.
Yeah, I
yeah, I'm
believe it
trying to
was
think
number
like what
4
movies
for.
what movies did better than Ghost? Because I know Return of the Jedi came out the previous year in '83. But I'm trying to think what could have surpassed it. I'd have to look it up myself, but
Um, honestly, I think it was. You mentioned freaking Beverly Hills Cop. Um,
yeah, very similar. Kind of similar formula. Great actors again. Another SNL alum in Eddie
Yep.
Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it was just that time you just had all of these guys coming out of the comedic space, coming together to put these films together. And again, the soundtracks are like they are the soundtracks of the '80s. If you're Axel F, here Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be in the top. Just think of '80s songs, and that's going to be like in the top 10 for most people as far as music that they remember from that period. It was definitively '80s
Well,
music.
Paul, you are correct. Ghostbusters was the number 1 movie for 1984. I
Mhm.
was wrong. Beverly Hills Cop. I had them flip flop. Beverly Hills Cop was number 4.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
the number 2 movie for 1984 was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and then followed by Gremlins.
Pretty much.
So,
Now, to add to Angry Elf, remember I found the list of the character for the 1925. The list was Jake Conn Jr. with the Brave Leader, Eddie Spencer Jr. with the cowardly comic relief who kind of chubby,
yeah.
Tracy the Gorilla with the name of the gorilla character. There was a feature with a time traveling heroine, Jessica Way with the news reporter and Alan, and Prime Evil with the villain. Compared to the real Ghostbuster was Dr. Peter Venkman, the sarcastic leader, Dr. Egon Spengler, the brainy tech junior, Dr. Ray Sant, the intuitive ghost nerd, Winston Zeldemore, with reliable ground team member, Jamie Meneath, the sharp-tongued secretary, and Selma Clymer were probably the comic relief go, which, when I look at both character lists, I can't really understand. There's no close similarity.
Oh yeah. And we'll get to that, but it was all based off of the '84 movie. You know.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm just looking at something here. Not to take this totally off topic, but since
Yeah.
you mentioned 1984, I'm at IMDb. They're making a case that 1984 might have been the greatest year of movies ever. Check out this top 10. To your point,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, The
Mhm.
Terminator, Nightmare on Elm Street, Gremlins,
Yep.
The Karate
Yep.
Kid, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, as you mentioned. This is Spinal Tap and Police Academy, Revenge of the Nerds,
Wow.
Yep.
Footloose, 16
Wow.
Candles, The Natural, Amadeus, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, Splash, Bachelor Party, Red Dawn, Romancing the Stone. I mean, that's just like the top 20.
Yeah.
So I can
Purple
you
Rain.
think of
I
like
mean,
that's and I'm still going. The Last Starfighter, Starman, Purple
Yeah.
Rain. I forgot. How can I forget about Purple Rain? Some of these I thought it came out in
Conan the
85, but
Destroyer.
Conan Destroyer,
Yeah.
Dune,
Yeah.
Johnny Dangerously. I
That was
mean,
the year. That was the year.
I mean,
I'll
you
I'll give it to him.
yeah. Against All Odds. I mean, at least if you don't know the movie, you know that song that drove me crazy. I couldn't stand the
Phil
song
Collins.
after walking. Take a look at me now. They played that song so much, I got sick of it. I mean, absolutely. Moscow on the Hudson, Firestarter, Cannonball Run 2, Chud, Cannibalistic
That's
Underground Human Dwellers.
Yes, that movie brings back memories of the mid '90s.
Oh
Going to
my
my
gosh.
buddy's house.
Breaking. Hang on. I gotta get my break. I
Oh.
gotta get my breaking moves on. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is crazy. You know?
And Ghostbuster lead it. Ghostbuster lead
And
it.
I
Ghostbusters
mean, so you're talking about a monster roster of films, and Ghostbusters was number one out of that bunch.
So
And I didn't
Paul,
even
hang
go
on one
through.
second.
Yeah.
I have gotten this argument with a lot of people. My personal opinion,
Uh-oh.
83, 84, 85 are the three best years movies ever came out. And I mean that. Not because 85 I'm born or anything like that. Because remember, I'm still a sperm count at that point.
Your Groot.
Fuck off, David. But those are the 3 years I thought it was a lot of evolution in movies, script and all that stuff. If you
86.
can argue with me, Angry Elf.
86. I mean, one of the greatest movies
I don't
came
know.
out in 86.
We'd have to that look. I like I said, I don't want to steal the thunder from the show. That could be debated from 83 to 86, which was the best year. But I'm just saying, who's topping that?
Nobody.
I mean, 83 Return of the Jedi, to my view, is probably the top film of the year. Because again, the crazy Star Wars fan. But I'm talking about consistently, film after film, over a range of genres, from comedy to sci-fi to action films or whatever. You know, who's topping that?
But the thing is, Ghostbuster make New York City at the Ghostbuster City. It was like a phenomenon. The movie to be number one in 1984, to the point whereby every store that was selling the Ghostbuster costume and item that was sold out. Literally. That's how crazy it was. It was like a thing. You go to the movie theater, you had to wear a Ghostbuster suit just to enjoy the movie. You go into a Halloween party, all the costume party ran out of Ghostbuster costume before any other costume was number one.
And you got to remember one other thing. Everybody had that dance. That stroll they did. Who's gonna call? Like you be in the club when the song came on in the club. Everybody lined up. Who you gonna call? That strut that they were doing. Everybody started doing the same thing. So like I said, it hit on so many different.
For once, I feel young. For once, I feel young.
I'm telling you, it was everywhere. I mean,
it became before the cha-cha. Before you had a cha-cha slide, you had the Ghostbuster dance. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. It was quite the thing. And I'm thinking, man, and it was over at Beverly Hills Cop, which, like I said, that was big. Eddie Murphy was on his way because he did Trading Places, I think, in 82. And I think
Aykroyd.
with Aykroyd, again, another essence. So he was like really, and I think his comedy special Delirious was at 83, 84.
It might be 84.
I want to say that was 83, 84. So again, he was like he was a superstar
and
at that time.
and he
And
almost was
Ghostbusters,
in Ghostbusters.
that would have
What?
been great. Over Ernie Hudson?
Yes.
Wow.
No,
Yeah,
well,
there you
That would
go.
have been too much.
It was
That would have been that would have been overkill right there. I mean, it's like I can't.
I didn't even realize that because the thing is
yeah.
that both
So
the movie was so
Eddie Murphy was offered Ghostbusters. I can't remember if it was before or after John Belushi had passed, but there originally was supposed to be 3 Ghostbusters. And remember, Aykroyd has worked with both John Belushi and Eddie Murphy, at this time or before this time. So originally, yeah, this was supposed to be another vehicle for Aykroyd and Belushi, and they were going to bring their buddy on, but when Belushi passed away
Yeah.
and Aykroyd turned in this script, it was supposed to be ghost fighters in the future using dimensional hopping and all this stuff. And the studio was like, we like it, but you got way too much. It's too special effects heavy. I'm going to bring this guy in, Harold Ramis, and he's going to help you rewrite the script. And to rewrite the script to have it set in New York City and be a lot more realistic. And that was the goal. And that's what we got.
Yeah, and Ramis, he
Oh.
also he played like the perfect straight man. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like compared to like Murphy and I mean to Bill Murray and
Yeah.
Candy. I mean, he was like the perfect straight man. Like in everything he did, he made it good. He really made it good in that as well. So yeah, so like I said, it was like just a perfect storm of guys coming together. And in fact, I think because I don't think Ghostbusters 2 was as good. I know we're probably gonna talk about that a little bit later, but I think that was
we'll
I think that might have been the height, certainly for Bill Murray. I don't think Bill Murray was anything bigger than Ghostbusters.
No,
at least
no.
I mean, the thing with Bill Murray was, one, he's had this huge stance. Now, obviously, he's broken it of not doing sequels. He's like, to get him to do Ghostbusters, the studio had to agree that, all right, you come and do Ghostbusters, and we'll do the Razor's Edge, which was a vehicle that Murray wanted to get going. And I mean, up till the first day of shooting, they didn't know if he was going to show up. And then here he comes strutting in, and he does the shoot.
Yeah.
And he got what he wanted, and he did Razor's Edge. And does anybody know Razor's Edge? I mean,
I've never
do.
heard of it.
Only
Never heard
because
of it.
I'm a Bill Murray fan.
Yeah. But you can
Because
argue
of Ghostbusters.
you can argue he had a 10-year run from SNL in 75. Now again, I don't know about his stand-up or comedic career prior to 75 with SNL. But from 75 to 84, he was at the top. Meatballs is probably my favorite comedy if look all the Bill Murray films, Meatballs was the bomb. That speech, I used to play that speech before like tests and everything else, that it just doesn't matter. I mean, that was like that was like a motivational Monday type of thing. I would play and I would pass on to people and whatnot. It's one of my favorite speeches of all time. Movie speeches with Adrian talking about what's the truth, Rocky, and all that kind of stuff. It's right up there. It's right up there.
I mean, and you can't beat Caddyshack when he was the groundskeeper, going after that
Hedgehog
hedgehog or whatever it was.
Groundhog Day was another good one.
Groundhog. Yeah.
So I mean,
Groundhog Day was funny.
Bill Murray was the guy. I mean, and he plays the perfect con man, and that's what he is. He is the con man, And Dan Aykroyd, through his character and through coming up with Ghostbusters, I mean, he's the heart. And Ernie Hudson, he's the like you said earlier, the everyman. He's that guy coming in from the outside perspective. Especially that line he gives in the final battle, 1610, a year, this ain't worth it. Or I screwed that up. But anyways, basically saying the pay's not worth it, So, I mean, and the lines from that movie, I still, to this day, like, for instance, my daughter called Dad, dad, my response is there is no dad, only Zool. Stuff like that. You know,
I can see you doing that
uh,
actually.
yeah. I mean that, and this movie has had,
Rob,
resonates.
the question I have for you as a hardcore Ghostbuster fan, from all four movies they made, I want you to break this in two different ways. Three ways. Your top best movie of the Ghostbusters. Which one do you like better from the prequel versus the new ones? And we have pick one from this two original and two new ones. Which one would you have go head and head?
Oh, it's easy. The best one out of it is 84. The first
Okay.
Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And then which one's the better sequel? Or out of the sequel reboots with Jason Reitman is Afterlife. And the only reason I'd say 84 is the best one out of all of them is, I hate to say it, Afterlife is basically a rehash of 84. Though
At least I'm not the only one who thinks that.
Yeah, well, I mean, because one, you've got Gozer comes back, you know, you've got a lot of the same elements. Granted, you're not in New York City. Well, that's a plus. I like the fact that they left New York City, but you've got a group of people figuring out this whole ghost busting thing, and then you've got that fight, that end was that final battle was really great, especially with what pops up. So it's hands down 1984 Ghostbusters, because it started it all.
Yeah, and just the folks that they brought in, like I know Rick Moranis was mentioned earlier. Now again, I didn't know much about his career, but I did recall watching a lot of SCTV, which was essentially the Canadian SNL.
Yep.
So and then later on he got known for those Molson beer commercials saying the A, like the Canadian guy. And I think they didn't even come out with a movie based on that skit.
Yeah.
That Molson skit.
Yeah.
So again, he was kind of like under I wouldn't say underrated in the film, but I mean definitely, even though he plays like sort of inept guy that nobody likes. I mean, that's the thing that was crazy. It's like he's throwing his party and nobody cares that he's the host of the party.
No.
I felt kind of sad for him in the
what's funny about him, that he literally had to step away when his career was on the peak, because he has to go take care of his kids, because I think his wife died or something like that.
His wife died. Yeah.
And now he's finally announced that he's coming out of retirement to do Spaceballs too. I think I saw CQ did it, didn't he, on his Pop Culture Store?
Yeah, he mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious how he has in acting. How many years?
It's Rick Moranis. He's one of those guys. It's fine. I mean, he'll be fine. I mean, yeah, Honey Has Shrunk the Kids. Yeah. So
Honey Has Shrunk was awesome
too. I mean, so it was almost like that was sort of a launching pad for him, but it was because of him I started watching SCTV, because I really didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Plus, in our area, like in the New York area, it would come on like these odd hours, like Saturday night, like very late. I think it might have came on like after SNL went off. So SNL came on like from 11 to like 1 or something like that. And I think SCTV came on some channel like right afterwards. It was just a weird slot for, but it was almost like a cult following their content versus SNL's. It was almost like an SNL knockoff to an extent, but yeah, I mean, certainly he was an underplayed character, but I think he sold pretty well in that film. So
yeah,
for sure.
And we keep calling back to it, and after the 84 movie, the Columbia Pictures realized they had something on their hands. They had something. It had the appeal. It had everything. So they went ahead and greenlit what eventually became known as the Real Ghostbusters, or GBR, or excuse me, RGB. Wow, I can't read. Uh, it was the series did premiere on September 13th, 1986, but 5 days earlier, the Filmation Ghostbusters animated show premiered. So technically, Filmation beat Columbia Pictures to the punch by 5 days.
Mhm.
Um, though, and the reason the reel was added to the Real Ghostbusters was to delineate between the two animated series, so kids like Pete didn't get confused. But the Real Ghostbusters
For
ran from
everybody else
September.
though,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying for everybody else though, it was like everybody was like, "What the blink?"
yeah,
When the Filmation came on, for because again, I wasn't aware of the 75 live action
right.
or anything like that. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like every other kid, like, what is this? I mean,
My question
it
to
was definitely
you,
jarring seeing it for
my
the first
biggest
time.
question to
Yeah.
you, Robbie, you maybe know the answer to this. The names are similar. You know how people love suing each other legally. How did that work?
They paid the licensing fee. They paid the licensing fee in 1984 to get the name on the film, and they continued with that through this until basically Filmation gave up on it. And but when they brought out the animated series, they still had the licensing agreement, and all they did, like I said, to delineate was just add the reel. Um, but the fact of the matter is that show took off, and it's though both shows had toy lines. Everything in the 80s had a toy line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the other Ghostbusters, the Filmation Ghostbusters, didn't didn't hold a candle. Um, the real Ghostbusters ran for 173 episodes. The Filmation Ghostbusters had 65. Um, the Filmation Ghostbusters had a toy line by Tycho, and the real Ghostbusters had a toy line that ran from 1986 all the way through 1991.
Damn,
So you tell me, you
Yeah,
know,
that was a losing battle.
I personally think if these both came out at the same time, no movie, no nothing. It was head to head, race uno Mulanaro, whatever you want to call it. The real Ghostbusters was going to win no matter what. I think it was a better storyline, better everything, because it was a good cat. The Ghostbusters one.
that's
It-
tough to. So you're talking about they both came out at the same time and no movie background?
correct.
But here's the problem:
That's tough.
the
yeah,
Ghostbusters
I don't think
show
so. It
can't
is.
no, but it's tough. I agree with Mr. Paul saying the Ghostbusters live action show came in 1975,
mhm.
so that already have a following already before the movie for the real Ghostbusters action, the one that
that's
came from Colombia. So it's two
that's
different.
not yeah, but that's 9 years or before. I mean, that had fallen out of lexicon, and they only had 13 episodes.
Yeah,
That fell straight to the wayside. You
yeah.
know,
I
And I
think to
get
his
that.
point, we're talking straight no. So no 1975 live action, no 1984 live action movie. If you just tried to compare the series and saw which one was better, again, that's a tough question. I mean, it's like
No, among the
you have
kids,
to erase.
it's not gonna be easy because reason why? Yes, they're both cartoon in both of the sense, but the
Mhm.
storyline is what would catch the kid even more because the real Ghostbuster was more science fictional in a way whereby it kind of got interesting to listen to or watch. But as the Ghostbuster was more comedy relief because I hate to say this, the Eddie Spencer Jr., the comic relief character, it was almost annoying watching as a kid.
well,
I enjoyed Tracy the gorilla character because he's more like the solid individual. Like while everybody is stupid, he make more sense than everybody else.
Mm,
I don't remember. Did he speak words or did we like
no,
ooh
just
kind of?
No,
grunted.
he
He just
was
kind of
grunting,
he
grunted.
just grunted.
but he just grunted. But the fact that he keeps saving it behind many times over, it's almost as if he's the brain of the team.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. almost like Chewbacca, but even more so. He
Yeah,
was
Yeah,
Chewbacca
exactly.
with a nerdy ass person. It's kind of like it make it seem like why have a leader who don't know what the hell they're doing and let the gorilla run the show instead? How about that?
yeah. The only thing
And
I think I talked about this in our meeting on Monday. The only thing I was knowing about the show also is like the let's go sequence. It was just way too long.
oh,
I mean,
it was long.
one time, like if this was like a debut, like a premiere, and you want to see the whole thing from end to end, okay. But to devote, I don't know if it's 3 minutes or 4 minutes. I don't know how long that's. I'd have to look at a YouTube and count it.
The intro, you mean?
No,
Yeah,
no. The when they would go,
and
they high
change and
five and
transform.
let's go Ghostbusters, and they would go into that train. Then they're going this big conveyor, and they're going.
Yeah,
It just slows the whole.
I think it was
Like
like
you
3 to
almost
5
lose.
minutes.
Yeah, it's like you slow the whole showdown when you're playing this thing. You know what's happening. It's not like they didn't even vary it from time to time. You know what I mean? They didn't make it anything special. It was like the same sequence over and over again. And I'm thinking, like after the pilot, you got to cut that down by at least half. I mean, it's just
But back then, it was common to do that in most shows.
no, but not that long, not 3 to 5 minutes. That's my point. It's like, yeah, He-Man, like all those filmations, they all had, transformation
Look
sequences
at Power Rangers,
or
bro. Power Rangers took about it depends if there was a whole team, at least minimum 5 minutes. Every single person is going to morph. And it even does it to recently when they just ended the whole series. They were morphing, and like white powered red dragon. They'll go through the whole goddamn 6 Rangers sequence. And if you had a special Ranger, it had a special transformation. That's even more time in. So it
but
was
even but
common.
right. But for one, I think all those kaiju based or mecha series did that. I mean, Voltron did that every episode. Form
You just
form
I rest
arms
my
and
case, Your
legs,
Honor.
form the head, but not that long. My point
Like,
is,
you just
I'm not
said
wrong.
it.
I'm not saying this to not to repeat the sequence. Yeah, you got to transform, do all your stuff, but as long as that sequence was, it's like it. By the time they got into the ghost car or whatever, and the ghost car is saying, oh, you guys are heavy or something like that, you almost lost interest in what the plot was because you got to focus back on what they were talking about to begin with. So I don't mind the repeating. It just didn't have to be that long. I think it just took away too much from the from the rest of it. So again, another reason why I think the real Ghostbusters was better was because of that.
I would have to agree with that one.
I'm pushing back still. Like they did it in every show almost. Like Action Man, I'm looking right now. It did it for 5 minutes every time to get extreme.
5 minutes out of a 23, 24-minute show.
25 minutes.
So you're talking about 20% of your airtime to the same thing every week? No, I'm sorry. That's a no-go.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not pushing back on that. My only pushback is that back then everybody used to do it. Everybody. Rob,
That's not. We're not arguing that.
It's your show.
We're not arguing that.
I'm not arguing. I'm always right.
Here's the thing: when you talk about the transformation that the Ghostbusters had to go through, that became a theme for any type of cartoon that require you to do to transformation. That's always been the case. Yes, it became annoying that the Power Ranger had to go to that theme for every single series under this franchise. If you have 3 Ranger, you see the 3 Ranger transformation. If you have 5, you go to the 5. If you got 6, you go to the 6. God forbid you got 9.
I hate to burst y'all's bubble. I just looked at it. 98 seconds. 1 minute and 38 seconds for the transformation. I mean, granted, it's still a long time, but it's no 5 minutes.
Okay.
It felt like
Kid, I agree. As a kid, it felt like 5 minutes. It felt like a damn Eternia. So, but
and that's the thing about it, because it's almost like when Superman gonna do changes, it takes him a couple of seconds to change from his Clark Kent to Superman. It was just like this. But for Ghostbusters, it's more like, okay, Bring that changing closet.
All right, before we move to ahead, I have a little surprise for you, Engrave. I have a video I was able to find that I'm not gonna get strike for, so I'm gonna play that for you. I think it's kind of cool. It's nothing special.
Is it the Ghostbuster transformation with the gorilla? They had a bring out of his pocket and that's
Give me a second to find what's the link. Is it?
After.
Here it is.
Anyways. Oh, what's this?
Slimer's escaped again. Look, there he is. Let him have it.
This one's ready for the trap.
Time for a trap, Venkman.
Somebody get a trap down.
Oh no, this
You've
is
got to
the,
throw out your trap.
Need a trap here. Need a trap.
Put out a trap, will you?
It's a trap. Now. Trap, please.
Throw out your trap. It's trap.
Can't hang on.
Bill We're burning daylight here.
Run.
Slimer's escaped again.
this looks like that looked like the 2009 video game.
That's what I
It
was
was
thinking.
VR actually. That was the VR version.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the VR version? Oh, okay. I haven't played that.
I thought it was kind of cool. That's why I thought, why not play it? That's one thing we're not going to get hit for.
Some of the stuff later on is like the 2009 game is, if you haven't played it, you need to play it, especially if you're a Ghostbusters fan.
I think it was one of the best Ghostbusters game ever made.
I mean, Spirits Unleashed, depending on what your viewpoint on that kind of game, was pretty good. But yeah, bringing back.
What platform was that for again? Remind me.
That was current gen.
This came out recently?
Came out in 22 or early 20. No, 21, 22. Came out, I think, 22.
The fact that you
But
have me
anyways.
looking up the intro for the Ghostbuster theme song, it got me feel like, wait a minute, let me remember if I would cover how this started. And I played the clip just a while ago, and I remember it was the gorilla was doing the whole. I was like, okay, this is now I remember exactly what it was. Compared to the real Ghostbuster theme song, the Ghostbuster song they had the gorilla do the intro before they go right into the singing. I was like, this is
Well,
why
that's just
it was.
again that's just Filmation versus Deke. I mean,
I know.
the way Filmation did stuff. I mean, but the real standout for that was Slimer. And what's interesting is Slimer became an extremely popular character.
Mhm.
Towards the later half of the real Ghostbusters, Slimer basically took over the show. It was retitled Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters.
Sad.
Yeah, I remember that.
And eventually Slimer essentially took over that show. Now,
This
an
is
interesting
crazy.
fact was with the Kenner toy line had your standard figures, but it came with ectoplasm. And they had to call it ectoplasm because Mattel had copyrighted Slime when they did their Masters of the Universe Slime Pit toy. And because of that copyright, Kenner couldn't call their goop any slime. They had to call it ectoplasm. When Ninja Turtles came out by Playmates, they had to call theirs mutagen and could not call it slime. So, but an
Ooze.
interesting thought
Oh, the
is
ooze.
with the toys, Kenner, whenever they released a Slimer action figure, called him the Green Ghost. And recently on another podcaster, Geek Dad Life, going through the Kenner toys, was postulating that perhaps because of the copyright from Mattel, they couldn't call him Slimer on the toys and had to call him Green Ghost. So,
But it seems like they had a
little-
copyright on Ecto, because I remember distinctly. In fact, I just looked it up. High C,
Yep.
the
Ecto Cooler.
drink Ecto Cooler. So that was like and it was like that bright green colored, a variety of
tangerine flavored.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So anything with Ecto in it, they always had a reference back to that as well. So I'm assuming they had some sort of copyright on that. No, I don't
Oh,
know.
they probably did, and it was, but they, it took over the lexicon. You had the car was Ecto 1, again you had Ecto Cooler. Anything to do with with Ghostbusters was, some form, some way, either um, ecto or ectoplasm, all that. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, by the mid '80s, it was, Ghostbusters, and the thing of it is, especially in the toy aisle, you had Star Wars had already come off the shelves back in '85. Masters of the Universe by this time is starting to slow down. GI Joe is slowly starting to slow down,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until Playmates and the Ninja Turtles really took off in the late '91, early '92. Ghostbusters had a free run, and they had all sorts of figures and role playing items.
Mhm.
Pete was saying earlier, talking about not having a proton pack. I didn't have a proton pack, but it wasn't for a lack of trying. But you know, they had, but I had pretty much everything else. I had an Ecto One. I had all the Ghostbusters. I had Green Ghost. I mean, I had my team, and I could play Ghostbusters all day long. Um, so, anybody else
Do
have?
you have any of those toys from your childhood, or they all got scratched?
Oh, we were a military family, so every time we moved, there was a yard sale. No, I don't have any childhood survivors. The closest I have is a Voltron, but that was from the '90s, not from the '80s. Um, so no, I don't have any childhood survivors.
Gotcha. Hey, Angry, let me ask you, between Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, again, I think we're all in agreement. I think Ghostbusters 1 was the better film, just overall.
Yeah,
But certainly, I think it also, the thing about 2, I think it definitely helped to solidify and launch the solo career of Bobby Brown. So again, I think he came out with My
yeah,
Prerogative, I think a bit earlier, but he also had the Ghostbusters soundtrack.
yep.
That was again
On our own.
a big hit of that summer. So again, it didn't have, I don't think it had the same splash, but certainly between My Prerogative and the Ghostbusters on my in
Yeah,
control, I mean, it was that definitely he became a major star. Maybe not maybe on the level like a Michael Jackson or whatever, but he was like
yeah,
like what Chris Brown became, in later years, or Usher or something like that. He might have been like the first
uh-huh,
to like have that kind of breakout start from New Edition. I think I was just watching the New Edition biofilm, and
yeah,
they had to kick him out because he was just too wild at that time. But he definitely carved out a niche for himself as a solo artist, which is difficult to do oftentimes when you leave a group. It was supposed to be Michael Tresvant, the lead singer. He was slated for that, but I don't think he had nearly the career that Bobby
yeah.
Brown did, reaching out. But I think that song, again, very ingrained in certainly in my mind from the time, and it was a very big hit for him, I thought, from that era. So what was your thoughts on
Definitely.
the two, and what was your still between Ray Parker Jr.'s and Bobby's, which one do you prefer?
Oh, I'm a Ray Parker Jr. Fan all the way. I'll shill for him all day long.
Right.
There's nothing against Bobby Brown, but everything associated Ghostbusters 2, just I liked it, but not at the same level. I
Right.
mean, the the problem with the movie and in turn the songs associated in my mind, but the problem with the movie was it was, and I was a kid. I was a kid. It was too in line with the cartoon. Everything was toned down. Everything was more, you know, family friendly. The dark humor was gone. And then just it felt more like the tie-in. Like there's the cameo appearance by Bobby Brown, as the Ghostbusters go in to go see the mayor. He asks, can he get a proton pack? His kid's brother's a fan, and the Ghostbusters like it's not a toy. Sorry, it's not a toy. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Let me ask you: do you think that a possible problem with it is? I mean, sequels I know can be very tricky,
yeah,
um, things. I mean, it came out 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Versus they could have probably, I mean, if they could have got, I don't know, back then if they were doing like multi-picture deals, or were they even considering, hey, if this is a hit, we'll sign you up for the sequel now and whatnot. Everyone's got a guarantee or something like that. But they could, I mean, I think if Ghostbusters 2 came out like in 86, it possibly could have still done well. I mean, I know they tried to, sell the cartoon and all that, but certainly getting the band back together they did for 89. Do you think just 5 years, it just takes some of the sizzle off, or just run back with the same formula that made the first one successful? Because you said it got watered down again, but things started changing just in culture and society by 89. I think things were starting to change a bit, in terms of people's sensibilities and whatnot. So what's your thoughts on, should it have come out earlier, 86, or do you would have made a difference?
I'm trying to look it up, but one thing has been running through this woes of getting more Ghostbuster movies out has always been Bill Murray, and I'm trying to
Why? Why do they want to
yeah,
shoot movies?
Well, I'm
Why?
trying to it's how Bill Murray is. It's really realistically it's how Bill Murray is. One, he's not a big fan of doing sequels. Two, he'll do a movie when he's ready. And right here, according to Reitman, the delay occurred because the main actors did not want to make a sequel for nearly 3 years. By the time they decided to go ahead, Murray was committed to starring role in Scrooged. When Murray was finally ready, the script was not. So again, it's that back and forth of trying to get all the main players back. And then there's also talk that the then Columbia Pictures executive, David Putman, was blamed for Ghostbusters 2 lengthy production, although director Ivan Reitman said it was more the fault of the reluctant cast and crew. So there was obviously some studio interference in what was going on. And, and that was, at the point of, how and why they toned down everything for Ghostbusters 2, made it more family friendly. That was obviously studio.
I don't think it was a
It's,
bad movie for a family or a first one, to be honest with you.
but
Yeah, but it's again, the hardest thing in the world is to produce a success, especially when the first was so blockbuster. I mean, that's why like Empire Strikes Back, Godfather 2, even maybe like Winter Soldier. I mean, it's very few where you can actually say the sequel was as good, if not better, than the original. That's a rare feat in anything, unless you're trying to make them together. Like I think Superman, the first movie, Superman 2, it was shot with the original, but then once I guess the director left, and then they had to bring in another guy to try to finish the film, and it was a totally different product. So I think that's that's a tough ask, especially because I don't think anybody, I think people can say, oh well, yeah, this is going to be good, especially with the cast. Like I said, the cast was certainly had a lot of star power to it, but I don't think they expected that.
no.
And then the money that you got, I don't know what the contracts were, but the money is such saying you don't have to make a you can live off the royalties off of that for a long time before you have to make one.
And it was expected to be a blockbuster, but in the end, the sequel made 215.4 million versus the original's 282.2 million. So it was nowhere near what the original did.
And that's not adjusted for inflation either. So
no, that is well, yeah, excuse me, that is 89 numbers, but you're right, adjusting for inflation.
yeah,
I
5
mean,
years later, so it did worse probably because the price of
Yeah.
tickets when everything went up, so it probably made less money if you was to bring it into 84 numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Ghostbusters continued on, and there was a bunch of stuff going on. But it rode for 2 more years till 91, and then it pretty much just died out. And it was, at that point in the lexicon, it was Ninja Turtles. Turtles took over,
Mhm.
and that's all she
So
wrote.
was Turtles and Batman at the same time. They were both of them like
Well,
going head to
yeah,
head.
and that was another problem with Ghostbusters too. That summer, you had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, you had the Michael Keaton Batman movie, you had what are some of the others? Remember, I could look it up. But anyways, the point of the matter is, in the summer of '89, you were done for. As soon as Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson got on the screen as Batman and the Joker, it was all over.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Which is and that's what makes the '84 film, because again we went through early on a big roster of
Mhm.
big films that came out in that time, and for Ghostbusters to still come out number one, yeah, I mean I think that's that definitely says a lot. It definitely says a lot.
And so, like I said, everything was quiet until September of '97, when Pete's favorite cartoon came out. That's when it wasn't until '97 that Extreme Ghostbusters appeared. Um, they ran for only 40 episodes and concluded in December of that same year. Um, it was essentially a sequel to the real Ghostbusters. Only Egon remains at the firehouse along with Slimer, and ends up teaching college classes. And then when there's a reason to bring back the Ghostbusters, he enlists his students instead of getting his buddies back. And that's that was it for until the last two episodes, the season finale. The original Ghostbusters came back for the 40th Egon's 40th birthday, and then they reluctantly end up working together again. So, but that was, Pete, you said I mean, I remember watching it. It wasn't my favorite. What are your
I
thoughts on
hated it.
Extreme Ghostbusters?
I
Huh?
hated the Extreme Ghostbusters. I think it was a horrible show, horrible
Oh,
script, horrible everything. I wanted to delete that thing out of my skull if I could. Um, I again, I haven't watched it since I was a kid.
yeah.
That's how much I hated it. And time I want to go back and see if it was actually that bad. It only 48 episodes. You said was it?
40. Only 40 episodes. It's
It does.
I've watched it recently. It's on something. One of those free streaming things. Maybe it was Pluto TV or something like that.
If you tell me it's only 40 episodes, that's how I know how bad it was.
Well, it didn't get renewed or it didn't get set up for additional seasons. It didn't even get to 65 episodes, which is the standard for syndication.
Right.
You think
I
maybe
think what they
because they aired on Sci-Fi and Sci-Fi wasn't as a popular channel back then?
No, it aired in regular syndication.
I remember Sci-Fi. I watched it
It
on Sci-Fi.
probably eventually ended up on the Sci-Fi channel, but it was in regular syndication. And now it wasn't like the real Ghostbusters. The real Ghostbusters had the advantage of not only being in syndication but also airing on Saturdays on ABC. So it ran for 6 days a week. Now
Hmm.
the syndication episodes were different than the ABC episodes, but it was the same cartoon.
And
But
same thing
yeah,
with
it was.
Pokemon. That was airing 7 days a week almost at one point.
I'm sorry. What?
Like for example, I know now I'm going versus two different franchises, but Pokemon was going like 7 days a week almost, so I
Oh
have more
well, yeah,
airtime.
but yeah. I mean, but so now after Ghostbusters 2 concluded and we get into the early '90s, actually through the '90s into the early 2000s, Dan Aykroyd kept continuously attempting to um, read or do a sequel. And again, it was Bill Murray that kept pushing it, going, nope, I don't want to do it. Hey, I'll do it if you kill me off in like the first act. And, I'm a ghost and you bust me. Murray
I
was
heard
not
that like he
interested.
wanted to do something like something like a little stupid like that. But I think it's kind of ironic he wanted to be killed off and end up being Egon, who was pretty much dead. He died in real life, you know, in the next
Well,
movie.
well, there's that but it was because of Groundhog Day. Um, Harold Ramis was directing Groundhog Day, which starred Bill Murray. They got into a fight. They got
Mhm.
into a long fight that lasted until right before Harold Ramis passed away. And
Who was their
yeah,
fight again? Who was it?
Harold Ramis and Bill Murray got into a nasty fight
Really?
uh, that lasted for shoot all the way, pretty much all the way up until Harold Ramis passed away. And what happened was Bill Murray realized that his friend was sick, really sick, and he went and got a box of donuts, went to Harold Ramis's house, and sat down. They buried the hatchet and figured everything out. And but yeah, so
Angry. I
yeah,
know
but
you said you've been a lifelong fan of Bill Murray. Did he have like a reputation
being an
of
asshole.
being, or just hard to work with, whatever you want to call it,
Yes,
or what have you? It's
he was. He was absolutely had that. Like I said, with the first Ghostbusters, they had him on. He was quote unquote under contract, but they didn't know if he was going to show up.
mm,
Um, and he showed up day one and was kind of like, "Oh, okay, we can do this." And I think it was Ghostbusters 2, but I didn't run across it. I've uh, seen so many documentaries on this stuff, but I think it was Ghostbusters 2. They didn't know if he was again coming back, and I think it was like 2 or 3 days after principal photography had started that he showed up. But there was they filmed stuff that didn't require Bill Murray, but there was points, and you can almost tell. Um, you go back and watch Ghostbusters 2. Bill Murray, I mean, he didn't have as much enthusiasm as he did in the first one.
right.
Now, granted, different point in your life, so on and so forth, but still, it kind of it didn't feel like he was phoning it in, but it just didn't feel like it was the same guy, you know.
Yeah. Do
So
you think that
I
kid?
get
But
that.
it didn't seem to kill his career, or people are still willing to work with him because they. Didn't he
oh
do
yeah,
Scrooge? Didn't he do Scrooge?
yeah, he did Scrooge, and it came out. I think it came out after Ghostbusters, but only because they delayed it to, or excuse me, after Ghostbusters 2, but they held it till the Christmas season. I
Mm,
think because yeah, he filmed. Oh no, I'm sorry, 88. Scrooge came out in 88. Excuse me.
80. Mm,
I mean, all those movies. I watched most of them on home media VHS, so
right.
they came out when they came home from Blockbuster.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I mean, I could understand it certainly at the time. Like I said, he was the biggest star going back to like 77, 78 with Meatball, Stripes, and whatnot. He
Yep.
was, like I said, Eddie was like on the come up. Like Eddie was kind of coming like right after him. But he was clearly, I think at the time, the top, I think, comedic star in Hollywood 4 times. So again, I guess they're gonna give you some graces, or that he certainly could take advantage of. But it just seems like yeah, you still think he possibly could have did a little bit more. Um, but like you said, I mean, it seems like if he's not into something, he's not into it. And I don't know if it was due to other interests, or I don't know if he was into the substances. I don't know, but he definitely seemed to have like an aloof. It's just like when he's in character doing something, he's like
Yeah.
he's into it. But when he's not, it's just like I've heard interviews with him, just like Letterman or whatever the show is. He's just very aloof. It's like, are we done now with this? But he doesn't. It sounds almost like a tortured soul kind of person.
I heard in the past that Bill Murray was an asshole to work with at times. Like
Yeah.
he's very, very difficult to work with. I think that's why after a certain point, people stop hiring him and like we don't want to deal with this guy anymore. Enough is enough. But one person we don't hear a lot is Man, I'm gonna pronounce his real name. So I'm gonna say the Winston, the Black Ghostbuster. That guy, you don't hear too much about that guy.
Ernie Hudson. That guy, if you take a recent picture of the guy's almost 80 years old.
And looks the same.
And the guy's got a body like crazy. I mean, yeah, very physically fit for his age. He's definitely
Paul,
he's my
stop
motivation.
drooling on the actor.
He's my motivation. He's he's the guy. I'm like, if I could be 78 years old and look like him, I'm golden. But I mean, he really has taken care of himself really well over.
Oh yeah, I'm not kidding. But again, you don't hear too much about his career as an actor. Ghostbusters, and that's
But
it.
that's because when you're in the company of Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis. I'm sorry. I love Ernie Hudson. I mean, he's been in a lot of good stuff. I mean, he was in Hand That Rocks the Cradle, The Crow. He's been all over TV.
He's
He
a
was
working
in-
actor. That's
Yeah.
what he's a working actor.
He's
Toy
just
Story.
not.
He played in. I see.
What's that?
He played in Toy Story.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
I look him up just now. His name is Ernest Lee Hudson. He did Leviathan, Hand That Rocked the Cradle, The Crow, Airhead, The Basketball Diary, Congo, With Congeniality, The Ron Clark Story. He been busy. The Last Princeton.
No, I'm not saying he
and-
wasn't, David. I said you don't hear too much about him. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's just that if you recognize his work, Desperate Housewife, you will recognize him. Chick Light of the American Teenager, you'll recognize that. Law and Order, come on.
And again,
Transformer
he's
Prime?
always playing. He's always playing the straight man. I mean, it's like anything else. It's like when you play the straight man, you're not going to get the big. It's like with a sports, like a basketball team, right? The guy who gets in there and does the rebounds and plays defense and whatnot. He's a cog in your team that makes the team work, but he's not the superstar. He's not the guy. He's not going to take all the shots. He's not going to, do anything exciting, but you need those kind of grunt guys to kind of get the job done. So
I see the reason why. He joined the U.S. Marine Corps after high school, but he was discharged after only 3 months on medical ground due to asthma. I think he was so
Marine
into
Corps.
that field.
Marine Corps, not corpse. Corps.
Corps, sorry. Please forgive me for that.
So why is it
You
spelled?
need to apologize to Boss Man now.
This is the problem with English. Why not just spell it Core? We'd be done with it. Why is it Corps?
I just care.
But then he was also the voice actor for Transformer Prime from 2010 to 2013.
Yep, he was in there.
He's been busy.
Well, he's always there.
Very.
But the problem is to basically go back to your question, Pete. When you're in the company of greatness, and you're gonna end up falling to the side. But
You see that?
But it's a meteor. It's like I said, compared him to Bill Murray. Ernie's probably had as far as like a sustained kind of, like I said, those core guys. They're steady working and always working all into it. Bill Murray was like a meteor. He had his shot, that 10-year period where he kind of shot his up to the stars, and then he fizzled out.
But don't forget, not only he was an actor, he was a playwright and a producer.
Yeah. But the thing of it is now is, especially coming out of the last couple of movies, Ernie Hudson has basically become the face of the Ghostbusters. Bill Murray, you'll be lucky if he comes back. Dan Aykroyd, I think they basically told him, like, you need to chill out. And then but no one else. Yeah, what's his name? Oh, Ant-Man, freaking Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd was in the in the new ones. Carrie Coon, McKenna Grace, Finn Wolfhard, but you know him from Stranger Things.
But let's not forget, from 2022 to 2024, he was in the show called Quantum Leap, which is supposed to be like a reboot for almost 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean, they again, and and they for the longest time, Ernie Hudson didn't get a lot of recognition because they would throw. You go back to the '84 poster had Murray, Aikman, and Ramis on it, and that was it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
I found that was
and
disrespectful. They didn't have me on the poster either.
no, and even after the franchise had moved on, whenever they released updated copies of or re-released the movies and stuff, they still never fixed it. It wasn't until recently that they fixed it. Now he was included in Ghostbusters 2 material, but not in Ghostbusters 1 stuff. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
And no, he did not like the Twinkies, but that was a big Twinkie.
But the guy with the health freak, the way Mr. Bennett telling you, he's a big. Right now, I'm motivated. 'Cause I'm a big black man, but not as big as Mr. Bennett over here.
But my point is, like, he didn't get credit for a lot of stuff. And like
Mhm.
you guys said, he was disrespectful. He didn't get credit for the Ghostbuster role. He always had a small role in all the Ghostbuster movies.
I mean, they said the same thing about the real Ghostbusters cartoon, that low key that it was racist because they didn't
At him
Winston's
as
role
much.
in the episodes wasn't always prominent. But the funny part is, and get this, and you guys might find this hilarious. When they were doing the voice casting for the real Ghostbusters cartoon, Harold Ramis, or excuse me, not Harold, excuse me, Ernie Hudson tried out for the role of Winston Zedmore, and he lost it to Arsenio Hall because they said he didn't sound like the character.
Yeah.
So yes,
What?
yep, Arsenio Hall was the voice of Winston Zedmore for the cartoon.
But he
But
did
I
a
did
re-
not
he
know
did,
that.
he did- but yet he did the live action version. That don't make no
Yep,
sense.
Wow. That's
and
that's Hollywood.
yeah. So, but the last time we had all four actors together to portray their characters was actually Ghostbusters, the video game, which was released in June of 2009. Um, and for the longest time, it was what fans considered to be the sequel, the third movie, because it was as close as you were going to get. And the storyline basically takes place 2 years after Ghostbusters 2. Their Ghostbusters is still at it, taking care of New York City, and it's a great game. It's again, at the time, it was as close as you were going to get to a sequel.
I personally think that was the best game, Ghostbusters game ever made.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I never got a chance to
um,
play it. I'm mad.
oh, you can
You
go,
can play it
you
on
can play it now.
PC for free now.
They, they, yeah, they remastered it and brought it back out in. It was either 2019 or 2020.
I'll look for it.
Too much
So,
money.
but it's a good game. Like everybody, like I said, everybody came back. Um, you know, uh, yeah, it's again, there's cut scenes that make it like it's a movie. The graphics were great. Yeah, and you play as a rookie Ghostbuster, getting taught the ropes of being a Ghostbuster, and you run around and you get to bust some ghosts. I
Mm.
think the best level on that game was, in my opinion, fighting Stay Puft.
Yeah. What'd you guys think of that? What's the name? Potts? Is it Annie Potts?
Annie Potts.
Yeah, she was like, I guess, kind of like underrated, but she was almost like one of those girl next doors. I know a lot of
Yep.
nerd geek guys kind of found her really hot, but
Mm,
again, she
yes.
didn't do well. She didn't do. I don't think she did a lot after Ghostbusters. I think she might have been in some commercials or some minor stuff, but she was always kind of like one of those women who were like, yeah, I wish they could have done a little bit more with her, but they didn't. They didn't really flesh her out beyond just kind of answering the phones, a little witticism here and there. But that was one you thought they could have done a bit more with.
I think her
Well,
character was not given it room to grow because even though she had that iconic facial expression, like nothing move her, she was more like everybody will get spooked. She just look at the ghost like, okay, and what you want here? They're not here. Complete comeback later. She would the kind of person to me. I would think in my head, if the girl were to come to her, she would tell the girl, come back, not here, come back another time. And the girl would look at her like she's crazy.
I mean, she did. I'm looking at it. She did a lot of stuff. She was on Designing Women.
Yeah.
She was. What Young Sheldon? Yep, that was another one. And she was in a lot of movies.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
She
Like,
was
almost
the
like you.
voice. She's the voice of Bo Peep in the Toy Story movies. She she did, a handful of other movies. Who's Harry Crumb with John Candy? She's having a baby. Jumping Jack Flash with Whoopi. So she's been in a. I mean, but it looks like she was more of a TV star than really movies.
Right. But she's kind of like Ernie, like kind of, again, just kind of silly work. I forgot about Young Sheldon. I forgot they brought it back for that. Yeah. So yeah, just the working actor. Yeah.
She's a workaholic. She's a working dog. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's actually great. But you didn't hear too much about her. But like, I agree with you. Every guy geek guy, including myself, wanting like, I wonder what I'd be one night with her.
One night, y'all weird. I was talking about marrying her.
Okay, Dave.
I'm the one that didn't think Janine was hot. Like I'm
See,
sorry.
I know. I'm one of those guys. I've always been for the one that they don't. So again, Ginger Marianne, I was always the Marianne guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always the ones that are not get. I mean, Sigourney, yeah, she gets the screen time. She's an actress, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always, like I said, the minor ones that you kind of see in the background that are the ones that you notice and you're like, man, I wonder what she's like, or why don't you do something with her? Remember, I think Eric posted in the I think in the Fandom Zone, Battlestar Galactica. Remember the girl who was on the she was like on the intercom and saying, the readouts and everything, silence are coming 80 centons and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
she had the hair with the braids and stuff. Again, kind of cute, but they never gave her give her an episode or something where she's featured. All you saw her on was just on the comms, just reading in when the songs are coming in.
That episode she does by herself or main character or whatever, probably be the best episode in the whole season.
I don't know. I mean, but they definitely left you wanting more. But yeah, but always I've always been that kind of girl next door kind of, know what's going on with her. So Annie Potts in Ghostbusters, she was kind of like that.
But in the movie, they made her have like a love interest with the guy who got turned to a ghost dog at one point, if I remember correctly.
I was in the sequel.
In the sequel, yeah.
She had the hots for Egon in the first movie, and it was, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, because in the cartoon, please correct me if I'm wrong, Elf, she always had a hot for Egon in the whole cartoon series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
But then I did it in part 2 movie where she got him love into with the guy who was turned into a ghoul, which is kind of like really downgrade from Egon to this dude who is, no offense, I can't call him a dweeb because the dweeb don't fit him, but he was one of those type of people in high school that you just look at him like, why are you trying to hold the party to get popular? You know you're not that popular. Don't do it. And he actually did that in the movie.
Well, he did it. he did it as a tax write-off.
I know, but it was funny when he trying to feel like, yeah, but everyone was like, look at him like, okay. Get him and break it to him that you're not really that interesting.
Yeah.
So Elf, how many collectibles, since you said you were a big fan, so do you have a lot of collectibles from that time or that you've accumulated since
the
movie came out?
I don't have anything, like I said, I don't have anything that survived. I've got stuff. I've got 2 Hasbro HasLab Proton packs.
Mhm.
Well, one's my daughter's, one's mine. And
Can you still fit
they're
in it?
complete. Huh?
Can you still fit in a protein pack?
Oh,
I'm not gonna go get that thing.
I asked if you still fit in it. I didn't say go get it.
You don't fit in it. It's got
You trying to call you?
adjustable straps, dude.
You trying to call you
I
out?
never owned one. I'm asking a serious question.
Yeah.
Like, I never owned one. I seen them online and go for a couple $100.
No. Not these. Sorry.
Nah.
Probably about $500 a pack. And
That's what
that's
I'm saying,
cheap.
one
Wow.
pack.
Yeah.
Like on Amazon was like $350. I think I saw last time.
Yeah, for the spirits one.
Give me a second.
So
I'll bring it up.
Spirit Halloween has for the last since like 2017, 2018 has put out Ghostbuster Halloween stuff. I had a couple of their proton, or I still have them. They just sit there collecting dust. But a couple of proton packs. They're about 3/4 size. But it was in 2021. Hasbro released what they call HasLab, which is basically a Kickstarter or a funding one of those fundies. And so what they did is they crowdfunded a proton pack, and it was modeled after the Ghostbusters Afterlife, and it was they actually scanned the prop hero pack. But yeah, it's a damn close freaking proton pack. Sounds, lights. The only thing it doesn't do is shoot a neutrino stream. So
This one right here is on Amazon, $269. Spirit Halloween, you were right about that. Life size replica pack, official license, movie qualified, goes with a protein pack with LED lights and sound board. So for $269, that's still pretty deep if you think about it, dude.
I mean, it is what it is. It just depends on how far and how crazy you want to get with it.
No, dude, I seen people go crazy with this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, so have I.
Yeah. To the point, they're part. They're different chapters of Ghostbusters, like New York chapter, Jersey chapter, and so on.
Oh yeah, there's Ghostbuster groups all over the place.
Mhm.
And they do stuff like from parades and showings or going to a convention to when Afterlife and Frozen Empire came out, they would show up to the movie theaters to stand out front with their and they're people that they get the 59 hearse and convert it into not a hearse, excuse me, it was an ambulance. But anyways, convert it into an Ecto One, or they'll take their cars and convert them into Ecto One looking like
Yeah, I see
having
that.
full.
Yeah, I've
costume
seen
and
one of
everything.
those. There's one near not too, maybe about 5-10 minutes from my house. You pass by this place. They got this old school ambulance
Mhm.
in the driveway, and it looks like something they said they could have converted into a Ghostbusters
Yeah.
machine for sure.
There was a whole documentary on Netflix. I think it was. I can't remember what it was. But when I realized how big and how deep this is, I'm like, holy shit! It was big time.
Hello.
Hey, North, what's going on, my man? How are
Think
you?
about the 1984.
Say that again, dude.
Think about it. 1984 Quid.
I think it was what it really
Sorry.
truly comes down to is
I'm trying to
yes,
say
it all started in 1984, but it was definitely the real Ghostbusters cartoon that freaking and it and people that are our age, that one grew up, now have disposable income and are passing that love for the franchise on to their kids. I've already done it. My daughter loves Ghostbusters.
Wow. So moving ahead to I guess your daughter's generation. So obviously there was a movie that came out. Was it a year ago? A couple years ago? The one with the
2 have
women,
come out.
right? So what's her? Is she a fan?
With the women.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's all
Don't
right.
get it started.
She doesn't care.
I'm just saying, just like, but is your daughter, is she into those films as much as you've been you say you've been trying to pass on the
Yeah.
love of the franchise, but has she embraced the newer movies as well as the older ones?
No, she likes Afterlife. We both saw. I took her to go see Frozen Empire a little over a year ago, and then the next weekend we went to go see Godzilla versus King Kong, that sequel, and we both walked out and said that unfortunately, and I'm wearing a Ghostbusters regalia. We said that Godzilla versus Kong was much better than Frozen Empire. Um, so I mean, but we'll sit and watch, the movies, the cartoons, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, and and what helps is, it's something that you can dress up as Halloween. You can, it doesn't take much. When I was a kid, I took a flashlight, a couple cardboard boxes, some rope, and some overalls, and yeah, I was a Ghostbuster for Halloween. No, he's
But
not
that's
the
a question right
Michelin
here.
Man.
But I can see
He's
that.
Marshmallow.
I can see the inspiration though.
Oh yes, absolutely. But yeah, um, now Pete, do you want to talk about your favorite movie?
Oh, don't you go there. Don't you go there, little fucker. I mean, your favorite movie. You said, I remember on Pop Culture World, you cannot believe they made this movie. You were going to die in the theaters at how good it was.
No, I never said it was that good. I said it's passable, but I never said it was good. It would the biggest thing that irks me is how they try to essentially reboot it instead of keeping it in the same universe as the first two movies. But that movie, though it's
It's not
not
in the same
that
universe, is
bad,
it?
and it's a separate universe. Yes, it is.
Okay, thank
Because
God.
even though everybody except for Harold Ramis makes a cameo in it, they're playing different characters. So, and obviously by that point, Harold Ramis had passed away. But the reason was the third Ghostbusters movie. A third Ghostbusters film had been in various stages of development following Ghostbusters 2, but because
Mhm.
Bill Murray refused to commit to the project, and then the death
Always.
of Harold Ramis in 2014, Sony decided to reboot instead. Um, and though some of the original film cast makes cameos, that they're not in it. And it wasn't until November of 2021 with Ghostbusters Afterlife did the original crew come back,
Mhm.
even though Harold Ramis had passed away.
So with the women one, I think it was a garbage. I wanted to put it in a fire, grab gasoline, and infernalize the living fucking shit out of that movie to the point it never existed in anybody's memory ever again. I feel sorry for whoever watched that movie. I apologize if you did. Not because I did anything wrong. I apologize you went through that misery, the painful. It's like putting a dildo up David's ass. That's the best way to explain it. And he doesn't like it either. So I'm sorry you went through that. David, I apologize of your pain. But you did not even enjoy it. That's the worst part of it.
No, here's my thing. When they did that woman version, I found it disrespectful at first. I'm like, what was the point of doing that? For what specific reason? Because right there and there, it's like you're destroying the whole entire franchise if you're trying to say, oh, you want to do something to represent feminism. This movie franchise had nothing to do with feminism. It was a story franchise all the way back to 1984, going by a specific storyline. When you did that complete reboot, I heard a lot of people not show up for the movies. A huge, a lot. I'm talking about one of the real OG followers did not show up. There's mostly a couple of women who want to say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And in the box office, I heard it flopped. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, it didn't do as well.
I think it was the worst Ghostbuster movie ever created, is it?
It's not that it was the worst.
I
Here
think
was the
it is.
problem. Not that it was the worst. It was showing a level of being out of touch. You're taking a franchise that created a cultural phenomenon from 1984, which was one of the biggest hits of all time.
Hmm.
And you, at that time, you said, let's do a reboot and go put all females. You're not paying attention the huge fan base that icon created. So it's like telling everybody who grew up watching from 1984, 1989, watch the cartoon, you give everybody the middle finger, you go do something completely different and think that you will make money off it. Because I say this on our show, an anime show. Don't take a franchise that have a huge fan base and think you just do whatever you want with it, not realize you'll pay the consequences for it. Because we ask anybody who the movie buffs before the movie come out, you ask, will that actually going to work? They will tell you, no.
Yeah, but in 2016, 2015, they didn't believe that. I mean,
No,
granted, they
it-
still don't believe it, but
it's
they
not the fact that
really
they
didn't.
didn't. It's not the fact they didn't believe that. They were making that. They were making it. They were making it look like it's the fan base is stupid. That's the part. When people want to do things completely different and they assume, that's called assumption. Because unless you grew up in 1984, 1985, all the way to 1989, and know how much of an impact the Ghostbusters franchise had heavily in New York City. Because the first theme song for the first movie was pop culture. The second one with Bobby Brown making it another extra hit on top of that. Unless you were around
Yeah,
that time and you understood the phenomenon behind it, what make it's like saying you're saying, you know what? We know better than the fan base. We know they're gonna love it. No, if you don't know the culture of it, then you don't know jack about it. Even though they assume, oh, it's gonna be successful, I was sure. Remember, you had to say earlier in the show that a bunch of chapters of the Ghostbuster fan base. What make you think
yeah.
they didn't? What make you think they didn't spread the word around and say don't go to the premiere, don't go to the movie, let everybody know do not show up? That's the impact of social media has. So when they did that, I did not go for that movie. I called it before it happened. I said it's not going to succeed. And then to find out they didn't make the money they thought they were going to make.
I was weird about it too, David, because when it came out, I remember hearing about it. When I first heard about it, was I think I heard from CQ, if I'm not mistaken. And when I scratched my head, like, why? And I questioned it, and I still question to this day. Why would you even make something like this? Why would you even
Well,
consider it? I instead of rebooting and trying to go a different route. Let's do reverse it. Let's see if we can get more fans. And again, like I said, it's like putting a dildo up David's ass for some reason.
well,
Oh,
I
God.
mean, it was who they hired as the director. I mean, go look at freaking how much stuff that Paul Feig has done. That is, I mean, what is it?
Wait.
Um,
They hired a director who was an ultimate failure?
yeah, brides. I mean, he had previously done Bridesmaids, The Heat, um, stuff like that. So it's no wonder why it ended up the way it did.
And that it's this is what I'm trying to understand about the Hollywood exec or the TV exec who think, okay, we just gotta shove it down these people because they are dumb audience. They don't know what they want anymore. Like seriously, because if that's the thing, have anybody learned from the WWE effect? Whereby when an audience wants something and you want to shut them down their throat, they go rebel and let you know that you suck.
Yeah.
Has anybody learned from that yet?
No.
Because it seems to me, it seems to me, we're living in the twilight zone where we the real people who see it for what it is, and the people up there who, no disrespect, but either doing all type of substance and thinking, oh, you gonna put this out there and you gonna love it, and we're gonna look at you like, okay, how much money you put in there? Okay, you go bankrupt on this one. Like seriously,
Yeah.
You kind of
I
wonder what
mean,
would happen if they And again, I don't know again how studios work it, but if some of these guys, I mean, you want to talk about putting incentives or um, stipulations to these guys' contracts to say it's like, look, you green light this film or whatever it is with these changes, whatever, it's going to ride or die. Your career's going to ride or die on these choices that are made. But a lot of times, again, the studios seem to always go with the, always go with something to, has nothing to do with the fan base. Like I said, I think that's a
But
big thing we don't understand, and that might be a reason why I'm thinking about just going to the cons. I mean, go to places where these people are, talk to these fans about, why they love or why would they think about just why would someone would devote themselves to such fandom. I don't care if it's Star Wars or Ghostbusters, because I didn't know until tonight, Angry. I didn't know that there was a fandom like that rode that hard for the Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, why not get into a room with some fans and be like, hey, what's driving this? What do you love about it? And then go back and take that information with you. I don't understand the idea of, studios just making these decisions out of pocket that have nothing to do with the fan base that has kept the fan base alive.
Right.
Or kept the movie and the franchise alive for all these years. It's an insult to fans. The more I think about it.
and I think the
So,
problem is
okay, sorry.
I think
No,
the
no, go ahead,
problem with it, the executives don't care about going to any type of convention because
There you go.
when I hear from Angry Elf, they're the huge devoted fan base of the Ghostbusters. If they have a devoted fan base for Ghostbusters, what makes it they're not gonna have the thing similar to the Star Wars or to the Star Trek? Because I remember there was a huge rivalry between those particular fan base groups. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
hard
I mean, we
for Star Wars
clearly,
and hardcore for Star Trek. So it would not be too obvious. It would not be too hard to know that the eighth one for the Ghost because the Ghostbusters was number one in 1984. In a year where you have all the best movies coming out back to back to back to back to back. So it's hard not to think it's not possible. So we have three cultural icons in the United States. You have the Ghostbusters fan base based behind that franchise. You have the Star Wars fan base in that. Then you have the Star Trek fan base. Those were the three biggest fan base we had in the United States.
So, David, hang on one second. With Ghostbusters, they call them Ghost Heads, actually, the
Oh,
friend base. It's a documentary. Look it up. It goes Ghost Head. It's free on Amazon and everything else. It will go in details how deep this is. And they literally go around Station 6, is it, Rob, in New York? Ladder 6, where the fire
Oh,
station?
ladder 8.
Ladder, thank
Ladder
you.
8.
Ladder 8. They will celebrate on the same date every year when Ghostbusters 1 come out. That's how
Yeah.
serious this
And
is.
and that
I'm
and the
serious.
funny thing
Watch the documentary. It's
And
very
and
fascinating how people
and with
lives overcome this shit.
and so the thing about ladder 8 is one, it was used as only an exterior shot in the original movies. Um, but they have patches and memorabilia. In fact, now they got the Ghostbusters sign outside of the firehouse full time. Um, yeah. So, but yes,
that's a big deal.
yes, the beginning of June, the first weekend in June is typically Ghostbusters Day, and they've done it for the last couple years. Gathered at Ladder 8 on that Saturday, um, and one of these years I got to get up there for that. Um, you
they
know,
did do anything special last year for the 40th?
oh yeah, they had a big old event because that was a couple months after Frozen Empire had come out. Um, Oh no, I don't think no, I take that back. I'm sorry. I think they didn't do anything that special on the 40th because they did it all on Frozen Empire. That's right. For the premiere of Frozen Empire.
Mhm.
But yes, in fact, there are people there's a guy that lives in New Jersey. I think it's called Ghostbuster Tours. Yeah, Ghostbusters Tours. But he has got a replica Ecto 1 and he will drive you all through New York City, taking you to the landmarks like ladder, looking ladder 8, Dana Barrett's
It
apartment.
sounds kind of cool,
The
actually. It sounds kind of
yeah,
cool, actually.
The
Wait,
New
you turn the
York,
lights on
New
too
York
in
City.
sirens?
No,
And
actually, that's illegal.
And you know, but they're not actually police lights. They're a little different. Different sound.
Nope.
no, it's illegal.
Blue. Nope. It's illegal. You can have. I'll tell you this much. I've heard stories. I've heard stories of people getting in trouble because they have the blue lights on because those are reserved for emergencies,
Hmm.
emergency vehicles. But I've heard people getting in trouble for just having them on, like stationary. And then I've heard people getting in trouble with traveling with just the light bars on there, off, but just having them driving around with it. So it's one of those hit or
Gray
miss.
areas.
So, but I mean, Ghostbusters, it's still going strong. I mean, they've had 3 HasLabs. The crowdfunding I was talking about. They did the proton pack, and then 2 years ago they did a trap and PKE meter, which I have, and then
I was just
like
looking at
showing.
that as you were saying that. I went to Hasbro and they have a lot of shit there, and
Yep.
it's a little pricey, but it's worth it. I think better than the other one.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my proton pack has got, like I said, lights and sounds. It vibrates. It weighs about 35 pounds. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't shoot a proton stream. And I've got like I said, traps and PK meters, and I'll have a few
So
Ecto ones.
I literally just put in the chat the Ghost Hits documentary on Amazon is free to watch if anybody's interested, and I put it in the back chat for us too, actually. So I know you probably seen it, Rob. I assume by now. Like,
So Rob, I got to ask you, favorite line from the movie. Let's say just take Ghostbusters 1. Favorite line from the film.
Favorite line? Yes, Your Honor, it's true. This man has no dick.
what about you, Paul? Let's go around in her circle. Everybody goes.
See, I won't even. I can't even repeat the words now. But Bill Murray's delivery, because I remember being in the theater and how something just catches you just like off guard. Like it was so deadpan the way he delivered it. And it was years later before I realized he was the same guy from Die Hard 1 and 2, always playing these guys, these unlikable guys. He's always been that kind of character. But the way it was so much the line, it was just the way Bill delivered it in the heat of the moment, and everyone's freaking out and everything like that. And then the guy's reaction, he wanted to kill Bill Murray at that particular time.
Yeah, the way the mayor goes, is this true? Yes, Your Honor, it's true. This man has no dick.
But yeah, but he didn't crack a smile. It was just so, I mean, so perfectly delivered. Everybody just fell out. I mean, it just, the only other one I would say, probably, if my second favorite was when he said, let's show this prehistoric bleep, how we do things downtown or whatever. That was the next one.
There's so many great Murray quotes in that. Hey, this guy's not that bad. He's a sailor. We get him laid. We're good.
I'm just wondering if that was ad-libbed or was that like fed a line. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Bill, like I said, he's certainly witty, whether people like him or his attitude or whatever. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ad-libbed that line. He might have said something else entirely, and they said print. He just winged it.
I don't have a favorite line. I have a favorite scene where they were going back and forth with the mayor, and the mayor said, "We're gonna lock him up." He said, "Okay, we can lock him up." And when the city started to go crazy, they had to bring him back out of the jail. It was like, I thought we were doing fine in the jail. You think we're the troublemaker? Let us be. You figured it out. That was my favorite scene. The part where it's like saying, it's never good to have a dumb politician running your city. You have no clue what the hell he's doing, and the people who's saving you behind, you're gonna lock them up. Because the way they were in prison at that time, they was like this the whole time. While the thing going crazy, they're like, I would have to take a break for now. Let them figure it out. That was my thing.
David, actually, I'm similar. Like two are my favorite ones. One, similar to you when everybody's watching. Like hanging over them. Like, yeah, yeah. Do you agree? You wanna help us out too? The inmates are like trying to hover around the map. The second one is
Oh
the
yeah.
first one. He goes, I've been slimed. He was on the ground and like he's slimed. Oh man. All right, Rob, you want to start final thoughts? What do you think?
I mean, I've
You wanna go
been,
first?
like I said, I've been a Ghostbusters fan since '84, and I'm not going anywhere. I, you know, it's as you can see, I've got my attire. I can throw this on at any time. That's the one thing I like about being a Ghostbuster. I got an instant Halloween costume. But yeah, I've shared the love of the Ghostbusters with my daughter, who's just as enthusiastic about it as I am, and yeah, it's great.
I will say this: as one of the closest diehard fan of Ghost, but I really love the franchise. I always had an idea: what if they can do a sequel to the movie whereby Ghostbuster in Africa? What will it look like? What it will feel like? How would it come about? Because yes, in Africa, there's a lot of supernatural thing that goes on, and I always felt if they were given that opportunity to do such a movie in a different area, that a completely different, how would they play it? How would it go about? Who would they be battling? Would be something out of their owner or out of their pay grade? Would they feel like this is way too much to challenge? Because when you talk about the Ghost, but it's dealing with so many historical factors that could produce such a thing. Look at the last movie, The Frozen Empire. That had to do something with history. So in my mind, I was thinking if they could do one whereby they're in Africa fighting an ancient ghost that's dating back over 2, 4, 10,000 years, what would the storyline be like and how would we play out? That would be the coolest thing to see. I'm just saying. I love the franchise. I just wish they can go further with it, whereby you don't have to deal with all these lame executive BS in it. That's my final thought.
Hey, again, I brought up '84. That could be a topic in and of itself. Movies of 1984, or just movies from '83 to '86.
Mhm.
But the fact that Ghostbusters was to be number one out of that lineup, which I talked about earlier, says a lot about certainly the phenomena. I would say that the movie was. It stole the summer. The soundtrack stole the summer, and it just sort of grew from there. So it's sort of great, certainly entry. Again, sequels not as good, and again, I think as I said earlier, for a lot of those actors like Bill Murray and whatnot, I don't think they were ever bigger than they were when they did that particular film. And so it was just again '84. That was just that time when you had tech and digital. Like I said, it's a staple of the '80s, and it certainly is enduring. And again, I'm just finding out tonight about again those who still follow it, and they have put a lot of their energies into it with the costumes and the cards and everything. So it is it's definitely emblematic of the '80s. And I think that fandom isn't stopping anytime soon, regardless of the films, the recent entries that maybe haven't been doing as well, certainly as the former ones. Um, but yeah, it still resonates in hearts and minds of a very loyal fan base. So good discussion tonight.
So, if you see somebody dressed up as a Ghostbusters, do me a favor. Let's go ask them two things: who do you call, and how much they charge. That's all. Because when this happens, I know who I'm gonna call, and he's gonna give me a family and friends discount, right, Rob? Shut up before I put a dildo up your ass again, David.
Storm blazing, middle finger, or else go to sleep.
Oh, what an idiot. But seriously, I think Ghostbusters is one of those series. Is like we're always gonna love them. We're always gonna keep watching them because it's a classic at this point now. I think.
Not only
Absolutely.
that, it survived the massacre what other classic went through, aka Star Wars.
Um,
Remember, remember, no, well, I'm saying that Ghostbusters survive after that one movie flop compared to what Star Wars had to go through, and it was being destroyed on multiple levels. The Ghostbusters franchise survived.
Yeah, but that's because it survived because when they decided to go back to it, um, they brought back the right people. Um,
Bingo.
Ghost Corps, the subsection of Sony that handles Ghostbusters, they went and got Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son, and he wrote and directed the Afterlife, and then he produced Frozen Empire. But I mean, he's had direct involvement. I mean, shoot, Ghostbusters Day earlier this month, he was there in costume, um, doing basically leading the whole event. Um, so yeah, they've got people in there that care. Yeah, sure, the last movie wasn't that great, but it wasn't as bad. I mean, as it could be. So
At least
they
it
got
was
people that
some.
care.
It was something. It's not like the one they did where everybody was like, "What the hell?" It's only one time they did that. Compared to Star Wars, it was multiple attempt of sabotage.
Well, that's because Sony realized what was going on, and they had a franchise, and they had a franchise that people cared about, both at Sony, Ghost Core, and the fandom. So,
They recognize
and
it and they make amend of it.
yeah, and the only problem that they have is they won't let go of but then again, everybody, loves the original cast. I mean, those gentlemen are
Iconic.
late 70s, early 80s. Um, I mean, iconic, no doubt, but you know, how many more movies? I really do think you're not going to see Bill Murray come back if they do a third sequel. And Dan Aykroyd, I doubt it. Ernie Hudson probably will, but yeah. So
I think the last
I
one was pretty bad, to be honest with you, Paul. I mean, Angry Elf. I'm sorry.
I
Was
was
one Ice Age, Ice, whatever it was called.
Frozen
for the
Empire.
Empire.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it.
I mean, again, but the fandom continues. For instance, uh, there. I mean, all the toys and all that stuff still sell. You stuff sells out pretty quick. You very rarely see anything linger.
But
So
here, but here the issue concerning the Ghostbusters franchise. There wasn't not much continuity in between because there was too much gap in between at one point. You gotta look at it in that part. That's one. I don't think the last movie was bad at all. But if you were to continue the franchise, it's more like it'd be more like passing the torch.
well, that's yeah. They haven't really done that because if the first movie that was it and the original cast didn't come back for the second movie, then you would have definitely said the torch was passed. But when they're all sitting there in the final battle, busting, that's not passing the torch. You don't need a
And
trilogy to pass the torch.
I totally agree with you, but also you fall down to the people who wrote the screen, who wrote the
Yeah.
road, because we talked about it several times. If you want to continue the franchise, there had to be some part along the line. Either you pass the torch or someone take up the mantle. Either the two have to happen. But it
And
had
that's
to
very
be.
hard when it comes to stuff like that sometimes. It's very
I
hard.
know, I know it's hard, but it all go down into writing. Who have the creativity to create a perfect script whereby you maintain the franchise the way it's supposed to be. So it's more like either you pass the torch or you pick up the mantle, but it had to be very relatable, connecting to the certain family. Because remember, the first movie put it as a landmark movie after this. It's a landmark movie, either you like it or not. It's too iconic, it's too historic, and made a name for the franchise. Second of all, the character are considered to be historical because one, you can't just bring any character into the franchise who is not related to the main four characters. That's one. It's not going to work. Two, there has to be of a certain study behind it. Remember, those three characters came from one iconic university, Columbia University. That made Columbia really very iconic itself. Because of that
Yep.
movie, Columbia University became a naysay in New York City.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, let's go over a quick schedule update. So tomorrow will be, what was it? Okay, so should kids be taught to respect elders no matter what on the career? Me and Paul will be going over that.
Oh boy, good luck with that one.
No good luck. We're going to do it like we always do.
I know. I just say good luck because the generation we're in right now, so many kids are off the wire.
Mm. So, and we're off on Monday, but we'll be back on Tuesday with the Spartan Arena. The quest of meaning of exploring the purpose of life. That should be an interesting conversation. David, you're up. What you want to talk about your show?
Oh, yeah, okay, hold on. Let me check my schedule. What's the name? What's the show we're doing this Wednesday? The title?
Bing Star Dog.
Say that again.
Hey, Bang Star Dog. I have no idea. You give me a name, I
boy,
put
I
a
know you
title up.
trust. He pronounced
I'll
it.
probably butcher the name.
Where you pronounce the name? Yeah, you are butcher. It sounds like a. I want to say it on thing. It sounds like a blue movie. After turning out the quarterback in Africa, and that's not what it is. If I remember, it sounds like Virtue Stray Dog is a nice kind of detective anime. A Bungu Stray Dogs. There is an anime that considered to be not only an instant classic, but it have an instant follower. There is a rivalry between two supernatural detective or anti-detective group. One in particular is another department, either the undercover department or the police department, but based on the supernatural. They got superhuman beings who do the type of what the police cannot do. And they're competing with a rivalry that's almost close to the malicious. Everything interesting franchise, but it's not for the light-hearted mind people, but it is very, very interesting. When I first started to watch it and I got to catch on, I was like, nah, you cannot be slow to understand it because there's so many Easter eggs that throw into the thing. It's almost like challenge your way of thinking and knowledge. Like if you watch Maddox, everybody who know Maddox, what it is, one of the best detective show when you don't have to watch the clue. They took that, inject too much steroid to that type of mindset and made it much deeper than what it is. If you can't pick up the clue, it's hard for you to follow it. It's a great anime series, so we will break it down. It's Bongdu Stray Dog. That's how you pronounce it. 'Cause when you pronounce it, I was like,
Hey,
you
you give me a name, I is good. All right, Paul, you're up for
I
your
know,
show.
I know you're not. I know you're not used to Japanese name. I get it.
Go ahead, Paul.
Actually, I'm sorry, I had to look it up.
Let me say it. Oh, you got it.
Just give me a second here.
Decision making why we choose what we choose.
Yes, decision making, definitely for sure. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So, and we'll be back Saturday with oh man, this is gonna be an interesting one. Dark Waters Adventures. That is an old cartoon that I grew up on. David probably grew up on it. Elf, did you grow up on that? Dark Waters?
I mean, I've
I
seen
didn't.
it.
I
I didn't
didn't
grow
watch
up
it
on
too
it.
much.
Never saw it.
Do your homework, gentlemen. Do your homework. That's all I'm going to say right now. Except that, Rob, Elf,
Yeah.
anything else you want to say before we go?
You know who to call.
Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Dodo boy down there. Do you want to say anything else before we go?
My name is not Dildo Boy. My name is Bear Paw, Black David, or Congo the Mist. Choose one. You don't do Dildo in Africa, okay?
I guess that's a no. Mr. President, last.
Louder.
All right. All right, guys. Again, this was a Spartan Institute Network. I am Ghost Aspar. He is Angry Elf. He is Dodo Boy. And this is Mr. Bennett. As always,
Bear
stay
Paw,
fresh,
ain't no Dildo
stay
Boy.
safe. Can I finish? Can I close my intro, please, before I got interrupted again? Stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.